YouTube and we're live on Twitch. Now we're live on Facebook. Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Van Amert from RDU on Stage, and I am here with the wonderfully talented Rye Myers, who hosts a show called Live with Rye. And if you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat and we will get to them. So welcome, Facebook. I don't know where you were, but welcome.
I know that. Believe me, I know that.
So Rye, let's start. You're a baby. You graduated from high school in 2013. Were you a theater kid, or were you like the newspaper kid, or were you both?
I would say a little bit of both, but I was a theater kid through and through. I did my school's morning news my sophomore through senior year, but that was about the extent of my sort of high school involvement in the news. I was a theater kid through and through, did theater in high school, local community theater, summertime theater. Yes, I was a theater kid through and through.
On stage, backstage, or anywhere they take you?
No, on stage. I was a performer. I was gung-ho. I was set on wanting to be a performer for the rest of my life. I wanted to be on Broadway and be a professional performer. And I performed locally and stuff until about, I say, senior year in high school. And then I hung up my dancing shoes for good. And yes, I performed on stage. I never really did much backstage. It was always performing, and it was always ensemble roles, but it was still a lot of fun.
And what I really love about this is I think so many people graduate from high school or college programs. They love the theater and they think the only track for them is being on stage, being a stage manager. I love that you and I and Shoshana and other arts journalists can introduce people to this other side of it. You know, you can love the arts, you can participate in the arts, but you don't actually have to be on stage. So I love these alternative careers.
Right, me too. Me too.
You started the Positivity Project. Is that what it's called?
Yes. So before the site I run now, which is RyeTheNewsGuy.com, right after graduating high school in 2013, I wanted to create a website. You want me to go into the back? Can I go into the backstory about it?
Absolutely. I want you to
take any question. I didn't want to take any questions.
No, jump in. This is what happens when two interviewers actually interview each other. This is funny.
Yes.
Jump in.
I love it. Amazing. So I graduated high school in 2013. My senior year of high school, I had a really unfortunate run-in with the media. There was a issue that happened at my high school, a scandal, and it didn't involve me, but I saw the ugly side of the media and just how cruel and nasty the media can be and is. And I was thinking about sort of getting into news in some aspect, and I didn't want to be what I saw. I didn't want to be these people that were, just trying to just be slimy in what they were doing. And it really left me with a bad taste. I wanted to do positive. And so after I graduated, I took some time and I thought, well, let me create a blog website that is focused on positive news and takes my love of entertainment and Broadway and focuses on it. So I called it the Positivity Project, which was focused on, inspiring, empowering, encourage, inspire, empower. And it was focused on, good news and talking with people in the Broadway and entertainment industry. I did that for about a year and a half, I guess, under the Positivity Project. And like many of us when we first start out, I was trying to find my footing. I ran the website and also wanted to do clothing. So I created a clothing line with it. And it was a lot of fun. I was learning how to interview people. I was learning what it was like to sort of be considered a press in the local entertainment market when I would get to go and review shows, the local Philadelphia theaters. And then in 2015, I sort of rebranded to RyeTheNewsGuy.com. And then from 2015 on, I skyrocketed and, really focused on my website, and it created more of a diverse sort of platform than the Positivity Project. I was Rye the News Guy at RyeTheNewsGuy.com. And so, yeah.
I love that. It's, it's so interesting to me. So when I graduated from college and I went to journalism school with a minor in theater, and I got a job at a news station in Miami, Florida, and I was a morning news writer, which meant I worked the graveyard shift. But it was right out of the gate. I think I had just graduated. I was a few weeks out of college. I had this very rosy colored glasses kind of view of news. I knew not all news is positive, but I at least wanted news to be honest and truthful. And this particular news station asked me to fabricate some facts on a story. And I quit and really got turned off of news because I thought, gosh, what is news? What is actual facts? And so it's been really interesting to see your story and see how out of negative experience with the news, you came up with this very positive platform. And I love that.
Thank you. Yes. And you're so right. It's, it doesn't have to be negative. And that was one of the things I didn't like, that it also destroyed people. I mean, you also talk about also in the entertainment world, like you see all of the news, it's all like gossipy and talking about people's like personal lives. And like, I felt that you could interview people and talk to people in the entertainment and Broadway spectrum without having to talk about negative things or gossipy things. There are so many exciting things that people do and have done that you can focus on, that people want to hear about. And, that's what I set out to do and, have been doing with Rye the News Guy.
And I think when it comes to celebrities, when you approach it that way, they have such an appreciation, because I know there's been a few people that I've interviewed and I've uncovered some, in doing my research about them, I found out things that aren't positive, maybe things they don't want to share. And I think they feel comfort in the fact that coming on my podcast, they are not going to, I'm not out to get them. I want to paint them in the best light, the best picture. I want them to come back. Exactly. I want them to always want to talk to me.
Yeah, that is, Lauren, that is so important. And that is actually one of the things that I put in my email draft when I'm sending for Live with Rye, when I'm sending stuff to my guests, I put that it is a non-judgmental zone that you can feel free to be yourself with, no judgment, no negativity, and I've had a lot of people, even before I did Live with Rye, even when I was interviewing people before, but who have said, I saw that and that just meant a lot, that it was no judgment and that I could, be myself and that it wasn't negative. We didn't have an ulterior motive. And I was like, yeah, of course. That meant a lot. So that's, that's very important.
I think it is. And there is so much negativity. So I think, especially now, it just feels like anytime you turn on the news, it's all negative, that people need outlets like ours. Okay, you have interviewed, you've got a list. Nathan Lane, Billy Porter, Sam Champion, George Takei, Laura Benanti. I saw My Fair Lady at Lincoln Center. Best show. Matthew Broderick. Who was the first celebrity you interviewed, and what do you remember about that experience?
Oh boy, the first celebrity I interviewed. Well, the first person of a name sort of status was, and it was a Q&A interview, so I didn't personally meet him, but was Christine Dwyer from Wicked. She was starring in Wicked at the time. She's a Broadway actress, and that was really cool. The first person that, oh gosh. The first, I have to say, I think it was probably, to be honest with you, it was in 2016 when I interviewed David Hyde Pierce and Billy Porter. It was at the Drama League Gala, which the Drama League does a gala every year, and they honor a specific celebrity, and they were honoring David Hyde Pierce, and I was able to attend an interview, and that was sort of the first night that I got to be in the same room and rub elbows with these celebrities who were usually more than willing to, talk with a few of the people who were there on the press line. And I did, that was the night I interviewed David Hyde Pierce, Lee Porter, Adam Cantor. And it was also an interesting evening too, because it was actually the night before the 2016 election. So, people's energies were running high. It was very interesting, but that was sort of my first experience. And then a few months later, and that like left me on a high. And a few months later, the new 42nd Street Theater was having their annual gala, and Sarah Jessica Parker is on the board, and she's involved in it somehow. But that was sort of my next big red carpet event. And like, I talked with Susan Stroman and Bill Irwin, and Sarah Jessica didn't do any press, which is okay, but it was still a whirlwind. So I think probably the Drama League Gala was the first time that I got to, interview these people. It was incredible.
That is so exciting. It is exciting because I think, part of what we do is we're fans, probably fans second, journalists first, but every now and then I have to fangirl a little bit.
Well, it's tough because, I would say I'm a fan first, but I do try to, obviously be professional, and I'm, especially in these events when I'm interviewing them, I want to be professional and courteous, but it is hard to sometimes not fangirl. Not that I don't consider myself a journalist, but while I went to school for broadcast journalism, I don't have the journalism background that like incredible people like you or some other people do. So I have some experience, but I am professional, but it's so hard when you're like talking to these people and you're like, oh my goodness, you want to fan out. You have this person 5 feet away from me and they're talking to me. Oh my goodness.
Yes. I had, I had interviewed a celebrity, and she invited me backstage to meet her, and she took my hands and she's like, I loved your article. I read it 3 times. And my husband's literally standing behind her going, don't cry, cry after. But, you can't help but get emotional. It's exciting.
No, it is. And when they remember it later, when they remember you, and when they, know what you're about, that to me is what's, so rewarding, when they're like, oh, you focus on positive news. Oh, you're, and I was like, yeah, that they've always been very excited. And I've learned too that people enjoy talking about themselves. And if you give them the platform to do so, the right platform, they're happy to say whatever. And especially if there's no ulterior motive to it. So,
yes. I feel like this is not just theater and acting, but journalism too is just a land of no, a land of rejection. And I think people are always surprised when I say things. So sometimes I'll tell people on my team, oh, I emailed this person's publicist to see if they'll come on and talk to me. And they're like, how could you do that? Well, for me, the worst thing that somebody can say to me is no. And then I move on. It's not a personal thing. They don't even know me.
Right.
So, but you have a very positive outlook about this. How have you learned to navigate the no's, the rejection, and what advice would you have for other young people trying to break into this business who hate no?
Oh, Lauren, you have such good questions. It's so funny because you said that with no and with the publicist. And first off, it's funny because people say, how do you interview this person? How do you get in touch? And I'm like, Google, my dear friend, Google. But I have gotten more no's in my life, both in this, what I'm doing, and in general. It does suck when there's somebody you really, really want to interview and you've seen them on sort of the other outlets, and you just, you being myself has a good intention to talk to them, and you reach out to the publicist and they say, no, they're not available, or unfortunately they're not available at this time, or not doing press. And it is discouraging, especially sometimes if you do then see them doing other sort of press, you're like, am I not good enough? But it takes one yes. I forget the saying, but it's like takes 1,000 no's to get that one yes. And that's sort of what I lived by, as I sort of kept persevering and saying, you know what, this person's this person's publicist said no, this person declined. You know what? Maybe it's not the time right now, but maybe in a bit. And then opportunities would arise where I would find myself at the Drama League Gala with a PR firm that really loved me, was really good to me, enjoyed having me at these openings and these events, and would say, hey, do you want to come and do this? And I would see things like that were gratifying. It was like, okay, maybe I didn't get to talk to this person through this publicist, but you know what? I get to look at the positive. I got to do this event. And it was tough in the beginning getting the no's, especially that first year, because I was like on top of the world. I can do this. This is great. And I just kept persevering. You're going to get a lot of no's. And it's going to be hard. We all, we hate no, but I am a firm believer that it takes, a million no's to get that one yes. And that one yes can open many doors, even if it's the door of you just got to interview them and, you have that story to share, and you keep on keeping on.
That's what I always say you just keep on keeping on. It's it's so worthwhile when you do get the yeses. It's an adrenaline thing. So for me, it's I don't want to say it's worth getting the no's, but it makes the yeses so much sweeter.
Exactly. And I have to say, and I'm sure you can attest this, it's always, the no's are always hurt more when you've spoken to the person, the celebrity, the star, whoever. And they said, yes, I'd love to, talk with you, interview you, whether you see them out on the street, at the stage door, at a Broadway con. And then you have to get in touch with their people to get, to reach out for the interview. And they're like, no, they're not available. Sorry. And you're like, but they said yes. It makes the no, 5 times harder, but
it's harder. Yeah. Well, and I think people are surprised. We don't have a list of email addresses, so I can't just say, you know what, I think I'm going to email Hugh Jackman today. There's a lot of people between me and Hugh Jackman, so it's a process, and I think people don't understand that always when they do see these interviews.
They don't realize the process and the work that goes into, and and I do always joke when people say, well, how do you do it? I say, well, Google's a powerful tool, but you just, it's a lot of work, and a lot of it too also comes from what you can find online, but also talking with people. I've done a lot of events where, I've met somebody else in the industry, or I've said, oh, you've spoken with so-and-so. Hey, how did you get in touch with them? Or did you, was it through this person or this firm? Or, hey, would you mind, and most of the time they were always gracious about it. Or I would ask, the publicist at that event that I was at, I'd say, oh, do you know this person? And they were always gracious, but I always believed in giving back. And so it was nice when you got those connections one-on-one. But yeah, it's tough, but when you find the way to do it, it is good, because you don't know where to look, and sometimes it does take hours, and you're obsessing like, I can't find any information on this person. Who's their publicist? You don't want to reach out to the agent because the agent probably doesn't care. You're like, they have a manager, and how do you stand out in how do you stand out in an email of 500 emails that they get from other people?
Yeah, and I think too, making your interview different. If you're interviewing someone like David Hyde Pierce, you don't want to ask the same questions that he's answered 5 billion times and said on everybody else's show. You're trying to tease out those nuggets that are just going to be on your show. So the amount of research too that I think that you probably put in, that I put in, it's hard work, everyone. So
yeah. and that's what makes shows like this great, is because, like when I do my show live with Rye, one of the great things is I do have the time to do the research and ask the questions, and we're able to, some of these events that I've done in the past, you get you're lucky you get 2 minutes with the person, or 3 minutes. And a lot of times, not that it's the same canned questions, but it's like, what are you most looking forward to tonight? What are you singing? You still do your research, but you have 7 questions prepared, and you want to ask them, but you're you don't want to not have them not talk to you. So
Yeah, yeah. And I haven't done red carpet events. The playbill, the event you're working on to break the Guinness Book of World Records as well. But my son said, I will be your cameraman. And when he comes up to you and you faint, I'm just going to step over you and I'll do the interview for you. So this is.
I love that.
So it's probably good I don't do red carpet events.
Well, I have to be honest with you, they are stressful. They're not my preferred way of doing interviews. I mean, for me, I think it would be much easier one day if hopefully my dreams come true and I'm doing this professionally and I'm at a status where red carpets are easier. But when you're on the level that we are and you're working and you're young and scrappy, it's tough because it's one of the things that's sad is it is kind of toxic. It's dog eat dog. I mean, and a lot of people are negative and it's tough. The one thing I always say is kindness will get you a lot of places because I'm just happy to be there. I'm a kid in a candy shop. I don't, even if nobody talks to me, I'm a kid in a candy shop. I get to say I was in the same room with this person. And I've noticed over the few red carpets that I've done that kindness goes a long way. There's been a lot of reporters, photographers who come in and are very like, do you know who I am? I'm from this outlet. I'm from that outlet. What do you mean there's no room for me to stand? And I'm not going to do this. And it's like, and especially if I know the PR person, it's like, why is, this should be a fun event. Why is everyone so nasty? And it's, that's not going to get you anywhere, but I digress.
Yes. Well, and this brings me to positivity. And this is really interesting to me. So I interviewed Laura Haywood, who is also in the Broadway Makers Alliance. She goes under the handle Broadway Girl NYC. She's got Broadway Fanatics. She's an amazing, generous, kind human being.
Yes, she is.
But what I love about her is she is so positive. She is when I started my show and I started my podcast, I had like a handful of people I was inspired by, and she was one of them because she was a fan of theater. She was clearly a theater lover, and she was always positive about whatever it was she was doing. She was present. And so I asked her, I said, I know you don't wake up happy every day. It's impossible to wake up happy. It's impossible to feel positive, especially amidst a pandemic. And she said to me that happiness is a choice and positivity is a practice. And so it's one of those interviews, one of those moments in an interview that has really stuck with me. So talk to me about practicing positivity, because it's not always easy. No. You don't wake up, every day.
No. No, you are so right. And what she said is 100% true. It's tough. I mean, especially in the times we're in now over this past year with the pandemic, but it's a choice and you have to work at it. I suffer from, anxiety and depression, and that crippled with, sort of everything else that you go through on a daily basis. It makes it tough, and it's tough to remain positive. And especially if you receive a lot of no's, or you're sort of at a point with what you're doing that maybe it's not succeeding, and you say, how do I do it? For me, it was always hard because I'd get so many no's. People say no, and they're not available. I'd say, well, geez, maybe I should just be negative. Maybe I should just, be a gossip person and talk about all this negative, I mean, that seems to get people, to watch or to talk. And then I say, you know what? This is what makes you different and what makes you unique. And it takes a lot of work and determination and, but it's a choice, and it is a choice that has paid off. And, it's not easy. You have to keep telling yourself day in and day out, like, you can do this. You have this, and it is okay at times to wake up and not feel happy or not feel positive. There are plenty of days that I do, but when you are on, or you are doing what you are doing, whether that is being on a camera or you're writing or whatever, you have to portray that, because that's what people are expecting from you. And that's, That is very important to do. And you have to remember that you're contributing. What you're putting out there stays in the world and contributes to the world. And so, one slip up of not positivity, or one sort of ounce of maybe not focusing on what you are about, you don't want people to get the wrong impression, and you become then just another negative person. So it's very tough, but it is a choice, and you got to work at it. And when you're passionate about what you do, which I am, it makes it easier, though it doesn't come without its challenges and its flaws and faults.
It's very true. Do you have any rituals for overcoming? It's interesting. I love that book, Eat, Pray, Love, and she talks about depression like the ugly visitor who knocks on the door. I too suffer with anxiety, and a few years ago was diagnosed with PTSD. And I found that in developing rituals, Laura Haywood, going back to her, she told me on the podcast, she chews a pencil. Like, this is her ritual for overcoming an anxietous moment or overcoming. Do you have any rituals that kind of help you navigate those anxietous or depressive situations?
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for sharing that, Laura. Lauren, with your struggle with anxiety and PTSD. I'm sorry you were diagnosed with that, but I think it's important that we talk about it like we did. I'm a big mental health person, so I appreciate you mentioning it. And what a good question you've asked, and you are asking. Rituals, for me, music's been a big part of my life. So when I'm able to, and it's appropriate, mostly these last sort of few months when I'm in my apartment, I put on a playlist. I put on music that I love that's just fun, whether it's show tunes, it's rock, it's pop, and I just will jam out. I'll listen to it, and it gets me pumped and in the mood, and sort of revved up. There's something about music for me that has always been special, that has done something for me that that turns me on, that makes me sort of go and focus and get really in the mood, in the game. But, when I've done things that are in person, that are, at events, I do take a lot of time for myself. I am a very social person, but I do try to sort of take a few minutes and, sort of center myself as best as I can. I'm not always good at centering and meditating, but saying like, take a breath. You have this. I will, talk in my head a lot about, just calming yourself. If it's appropriate, and I do find myself doing this more than I should, I do talk out loud sometimes, and it's something I'm a habit of that is maybe not the best, but I do talk out loud, and that helps to as well. But it's just saying it in my mind and preparing, like, you have this, you've got this, it's okay. But recently, more and more, I have found that music really just gets me. I mean, it does, even when I'm not on it, it helps me. But just before I do anything and listening to it, it just really pumps me and revs me and just makes me feel so much better, and really puts me in sort of that game mode, game face.
For me, this is ridiculous. The original Broadway cast recording of The Prom, if I'm having a bad day, I just have to listen to Brooks sing Barry's Going to Prom, and it takes me out of it. For you, what is your favorite Broadway cast album?
Oh my gosh. Oh, Lauren. Oh, that is so tough. Well, The Prom is great. I agree with you. My favorite Broadway cast album, I would have to say, and it's so cliche, but is Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Oh, yes.
The Donny Osmond version and Michael Damian version. And that's only because that musical holds a special place in my heart. It was the very first musical I was ever introduced to as a child in grade school that got me turned on to performing the arts. And so the music from that is, I can sing it, backwards in my sleep. And I was also in a production. I was in a production years ago. So that hearing that soundtrack really sort of helps me. But there's so many too. There's so many songs, but that one is especially.
I love that you said this, because, and I'm sure you get this question all the time, People always ask me what my favorite show is. And I can't say I have one because every show I go to is connected to some experience. I took my daughter to it. I took my mom to it. My mom and I went for a great meal beforehand, or we got stuck in the rain afterwards, or my kids had a fabulous stage door experience. And so for me, I love every show because there's some fantastic family or friend or some sort of relational experience involved in it.
Yes.
So for you, do you feel the same way, or do you have a favorite show?
No, I 100% feel the same way. For me, and this is what I laughed earlier when I said I don't really consider myself a journalist, because it's tough when I would review shows and go see shows. For me, it's like just the fact that they performed and did this show, I think it's beautiful in and of itself. It takes a lot of work. So I love really every show. And I come out of every show, really enjoying aspects of it. For me, I think one of my favorite shows would be Joseph, but I also, right now, it's also Come From Away has a really special place in my heart. Just with the music, the message. I've seen it 3 times. And then, the current day modern originals, Wicked is always one that is sort of in my top 5, because my years of doing show choirs and choir, we always sung songs from that. And, Phantom has always been a special place in my heart. I really like Andrew Lloyd Webber. And, so I don't have a specific favorite, but I would say, sort of those 4 are really ones that are really special to me. But in that same breath, it's like, I also really like Cats, and I know everyone always, laughs at me about that. And, it's when, American Idiot was my very first Broadway musical that I ever saw. And that holds a special place in my heart just as much. So yeah, sort of like you, there are shows that I see that have connections to it, that have connections to why I like it. But it's tough, it's very tough to choose.
It's hard, right? It's hard. You launched your series Live with Rye in fall of 2020 in the middle of this pandemic. And here's what's really interesting to me. I started RDU on stage a few years ago, and when theaters shut down, I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What is going to happen now? There's nothing to review. I was going to the theater probably like you 3 to 4 times a week, reviewing shows, interviewing people. And then the shutdown happened, and amazingly, I was busier. And I feel like you are busier. So talk about the good busy post-COVID.
100%. I will say it was not good busy for probably the first 4 or 5 months, because, from March through August, it was really tough. Our industry had been wiped out. I work in producing full time. My job had been on hold. It was like the whole industry was in, and still is, but was in tatters. Nobody really knew what was coming. And I was, it was a tough time. I really was in a depression. And but then it was one of those things that I started to see more and more, people were doing podcasts, and podcasts were taking off, and digital landscapes were taking off. I was seeing a lot of live streaming happening. Broadway.com was doing a lot of great things. Playbill was doing a lot of live streams. And I thought, once I sort of got back in my head of, let's do this, I thought, I had thought about doing a podcast about a year ago. I had an idea to do a podcast, and it never came to fruition. Shout out to Andrea, who had given me some help and ideas with it. September of this year, I thought, well, not that a podcast is not a good idea, but a lot of people are doing it, and I would like to do maybe something a little different. And I thought, I always wanted to have my own talk show. It's a dream of mine to one day have my own talk show. I was like, why don't I take this opportunity that everyone now is home? People are doing these things. Why don't I create something? And I thought, well, let me create a talk show series that I can interview people digitally. This is a great opportunity to maybe talk to people I wouldn't be able to. And from there, it has taken off, and it's been nonstop. And then, I have my live series, Live with Rye, add that to then, I think it was my 4th or 5th interview. I interviewed Nathaniel Hill, who's the founder of Broadway Plus. And one thing led to another. And now I'm a host, the Broadway host extraordinaire at Broadway Plus. You can, if you're interested and you have an event you want me to host, you can go to broadwayplus.com/Rye Myers. But I'm hosting events left and right for Broadway Plus and their streaming service Plus Pass, while also doing my website and running my show and doing other projects. And it's been nonstop in the best way possible. And yeah, I thought about it for a bit, and I thought, well, let me, I don't know if I could do this. And I said, you know what? I did some research. I looked into StreamYard, which is the platform we're on. I thought, let me try this. And you do by learning, and bit by bit, and it came together. And so, yeah, I've been nonstop busy since September in the best way possible. And it's been food for the soul. It's been good for me mentally, physically, emotionally. And yeah.
What I like to think of these as, Rye, are, one of my favorite parts about going to the theater is I see people, I live in Raleigh-Durham. We have a lot of theater here. Yeah. I think it would surprise people how much theater, but, I love seeing my friends before the show. I love the lobby conversations at intermission, while you're waiting in line for the bathroom.
Yep.
I think it's really, and so for me, these conversations are just an extension of that, because I can't have that experience right now.
You're so right. And for me, I was also a big stage door person. And I loved not only, getting the autographs of playbills, but I loved talking to the stars after the show and, getting to know them, or if I, met them at an event and, so, but I also miss that camaraderie, as you said, that talking with people, that being able to feel that, magic in the air, and, doing this series has brought a little bit of that back and then some, you can't see these people, you can't see everyone in person, unfortunately, but it's made it that much more special that, when things return and when you can be back in person, that, the connection you have with that person will be even more special. And yeah.
Do you have a favorite stage door moment?
Ooh, yes, I do actually. I've had quite a few that were actually pretty good. I would say my favorite one, and it's also my favorite because it was my favorite play, but The Inheritance on Broadway. That was the last show I saw before the pandemic hit. I saw it the Friday, March 6th, and then everything closed that following Thursday. That show just changed my life for the better. I saw it 2.5 times. It would have been a full 3 if I had gone closing night, if we didn't have the pandemic. That stage door experience was unlike anything I ever experienced before, because it was the first time that, like, I had them. Usually when I go to a stage door, I have them sign my playbill, and I'm on my, merry way. But I loved the show so much, I had them sign a poster, and I got to meet Matthew Lopez afterwards. And I had a copy of the script that I wanted all of the cast to sign, because that play meant so much to me. It touched me in ways that, I'm sure Matthew knows, because, I'm sure heard it from so many people, but I wanted the cast to know. And it was special because and I would tear up talking with them, because it was such a special moment. And, so they signed the poster and the script and the playbill. And again, I don't normally just do a playbill. And so it was special to me, and getting to talk to each of the actors and hear their experience, and Matthew, especially, getting to hear from the writer himself. That was something that I'll cherish forever, especially now that the show has shuttered and won't be returning. That was for me probably one of the coolest. But living in the city, I've had some really interesting ones. I got to meet Jimmy Buffett. That was also cool. At Margaritaville. That was really a neat experience. My family and I grew up listening to Jimmy Buffett, my family in Florida. So I got to see him, and that was really, really neat.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And I fear that, as I miss theater so much. I know you do too.
So much.
It'll be interesting. I don't think we're going to have stage door anymore. I think those days, at least for a long time, are going to be over. And
Yeah. It's funny.
it's
Oh,
special.
yeah. Well, and it's interesting you say that because the thing sort of in the industry has been, theaters will be the last to return. We're the last industry to return. It's a big possibility, yes, but I do think the very, very last thing to ever return will be the stage door experience. The very last thing, because I don't know. I don't think it is gone for good, but I do think it may even be close to another year and a half or two, even if we see shows that open later this year, that maybe another year and a half or two before, it's people are comfortable, standing close together and, and actors feel comfortable. Maybe that will make a stage door different. Perhaps maybe you can go to a stage door and pick up playbills, that they'll have them signed. I know Mrs. Doubtfire for a bit right before the shutdown, they had the cast sign playbills, and people could go to the stage door and they just sort of gave, like trick or treat. They gave them,
Pass them out.
yeah, pass them out like Halloween, So maybe that experience. But yeah, I don't think it's gone forever, but I do think it's going to be, probably like a good year or two. And I try to be optimistic, but with that, it's so, especially more on the actors' end because everyone has to be so cautious. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you also have a production company. You mentioned that. What kind of work are you hoping to produce with your company? Because your brand is so positive. So I don't really see you, producing Real Housewives.
no, even though I do like that show. Wow. Oh, Lauren, I love these questions. I love talking with you. Yes. So my production company is Rye Entertainment, and the production company is focused on producing new, innovative, out of the norm works that have a inspiring message in theater, film, television, and digital that really tell a story that break boundaries. Try saying that 3 times fast. Topic. While of course I want it to be positive, and a Real Housewives may not be my scene. If it's a show, let's say, that is a deep story, that is maybe a sad theme, but is so deep that is beautiful art, I want to do it. And so for me, I want to produce art that I have seen in the past that I was so inspired by, both on TV, in person. I want to do that kind of art. I want to produce things that are groundbreaking, innovative, new, fresh, and exciting, that are breaking barriers and boundaries and sort of never been seen or done before. There's so many new ways to produce this nowadays.
What I find really interesting about this time that we're living in is we've seen the evolution of the TikTok musical, Ratatouille. Now we have Bridgerton, the musical.
Yeah.
And my friends think I'm crazy, but you won't, because you kind of are also in the know. If you all aren't on Clubhouse, there's Clubhouse musicals being produced.
Right. Okay. It's funny you say that. I've heard that one other time, and I don't know really anything about Clubhouse. I mean, I hate to say it. I know I'm 26 years old, but I feel like I'm 50 or 60 because I can't keep up with all these social media platforms. I'm not on TikTok. I'm just mastering Instagram, and so
I feel so much better now, Rye. You have no idea.
Believe me. Yeah, I've heard that this Clubhouse, which is an audio-based thing, is doing musicals. There has been some good ones. I think Dreamgirls, they were doing Dreamgirls. I don't know if it has happened.
Dreamgirls, The Color Purple, and The Wiz are all in the works on Clubhouse.
Oh my gosh, I did not know The Wiz and Color Purple.
All right, I'm going to send you an invite next time I get my little list of invites. I'm going to send you an invite because we have to figure this thing out. But do you think that with the success of Ratatouille, the musical, and that's probably been the biggest one. I mean, Bridgerton is, people are going, Sierra Renee and Joshua Henry, they just recorded a song for Bridgerton. They just posted it. Do you think that the way musicals, the way theater is going to be produced, do you think we're entering kind of this new arena where people are going to try out these different platforms? Because putting a show on Broadway is super expensive.
Oh yeah.
So on TikTok, maybe not so much.
Yes. I love this question. I do. I don't think that it's going to replace live at all. I don't think that once we emerge from pandemic and lockdown and it's safe to gather, that, you know, live performance will be gone. But I do think it's a new way of presenting things. I think instead of maybe having expensive out-of-town tryouts or expensive workshops or, you know, having to spend $2 million to test a show out, platforms such as TikTok, Clubhouse, these digital platforms, you know, can give people a taste of the show, of the project, and really get to experience it and see and work things out. I mean, we're already starting to see, as Whitney Houston said in her song, "The children are our future." We are seeing truly that the youth and children are our future. And we're seeing these people on TikTok and on these Clubhouse and stuff that, you know, are loving musicals and are telling us how they feel. And I think that it'll play a part for sure. I don't think it will replace theater. I do, but I think a lot of new works will be created through these mediums and will take form. And I think will give access to a lot more people to be able to see. You know, there's been an argument of like, well, if it's, you know, if they develop a musical on TikTok, everyone's seen it. You can go on TikTok and watch it. But that's not the same as actually being, you know, like taking that musical that they did on TikTok and now putting it on stage and having the sets and the costumes and the pieces and all of that. It's still, you know, it doesn't replace it. So I do think that we're going to see that these social platforms play a role. And I think it'll be beneficial for theater because it will probably cost less to hopefully put up a show. But I do think that there'll be a digital aspect. I also think that streaming will also be an aspect too, especially for local and community.
I almost think of these TikTok musicals, Clubhouse musicals, and Clubhouse is going with known entities. TikTok, they're really being creative and they're creating their own musicals. I almost think of them as a concept album. It's like taking the concept album to the next level, you know, just introducing the concept and conceptualizing what could be.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it. I never thought of it like that.
I think so. And I think back to The Wrong Man. I loved The Wrong Man. And did you see that?
I did. I saw it with one of my dear friends who, her and I were theater buddies, and we were both moved to tears. She was like, "This is going to be the next Hamilton. I need to take all my friends to see it." And it was incredible.
I have to say, I think Kim, my business partner, and I saw it together, and I really think that when that show goes to Broadway, whatever its next life is going to be, that it would be very much like Hamilton. It would be it could win every Tony Award. The sound, the dancing, the way they combine movement with the story. Oh, it was so good. Okay. Yeah. So Hugh Jackman is my boyfriend. Everyone knows it. Everyone who's close to me, they all know it. I know there's Debs, and I really appreciate that he's married and a family man, but he's my boyfriend in my head. Everyone, don't come after me. He's in my head, in my dreams.
Amazing.
You are involved in this really cool project. Inspired by one of the songs from The Greatest Showman, which I loved. And you and this group, Ryco Theatricals, in association with Playbill, 10 Glow, Broadway Records, and the Actors Fund, you are working with them to try to break a Guinness Book of World Records. So tell me about this project and how everyone can sing this song and get involved.
For sure. Well, it's the #BWay World Record Challenge. And yes, it was the mastermind and the producer behind it, Rye Armstrong of Ryco Theatricals production company, is who created this idea. It is beautiful. It's, you know, we're set out to break the world record. We need 3,000 submissions, and basically it's a social media campaign. It's out to save the Broadway community. Our goal is simple: break a Guinness World Record title and benefit the Actors Fund COVID-19 relief. To do this, we need 5,000 video clips of people singing the same song. Similar to the Ice Bucket Challenge, which raised $220 million worldwide since 2014, the theater community is uniquely positioned to be one of the most devastated industries during this global pandemic, and artists need our help. If you can't donate, then consider sending in a 30-second clip to help us reach our goal. So yes, you go to playbill.com/Broadway World Record, or you can go to ryco.org, RYCO.org /BWay World Record. And it's a challenge that we're doing. So, you know, if we can make this go viral, we can help countless people in need. You submit your video, and then challenge 3 people, whether they're friends, whether they're Broadway stars. But it's super easy. When you go to the website, you'll see it has everything you need, the backing track. And we just want to, you know, break a world record. And there's a music video component to it that is going to be a part of it. And yeah, so it's the world record of people singing the same song, of a visual album. It's a long sort of
So who has the title now?
There is no title for it currently. The title is based. We had this talk in one of our meetings a few months ago. I can't remember, but it's based off of somebody who has done something like this, that had done, I think, 4,000 or something, and it was sort of a visual album type, but it wasn't the same. And so this is what the Guinness Book of World Records sort of noted as the record. And yeah, we have partnered with originally and still with 10 Glow Broadway Records, and the Actors Fund. And then we got involved with Playbill, and Playbill's been one of our partners as well. And, you know, it's great. It's for a good cause. We're raising money for the Actors Fund. One of the cool things is when this happens, you know, we're gonna have the music video that's going to premiere later in March, and it's to the song is From Now On from The Greatest Showman. The music video will have different Broadway performers in it. Rye, Armstrong, and a few others will be singing. That music video is going to feature the 5,000 people in an array somehow, sort of all mixed together singing, and it'll be uploaded. You can get the single on Spotify, and what will happen is any sort of revenue will go right back to the Actors Fund constantly. So it's going to be one of those things where, you know, every time it's streamed, even if it's after the fact, all that money will go right back to the Actors Fund. The money we raise will go to the Actors Fund. And we just want to save Broadway. We want to bring awareness to, you know, Broadway and the artists, and Broadway and the Actors Fund and the artists that are struggling during this time. And we're calling it the #BWay World Record Challenge. So yeah, you can go to playbill.com/BWay World Record to learn more. Follow Ryco Theatricals on Instagram. That's Rye Armstrong's Instagram. They're posting everything. And we're on TikTok too. So this is big on TikTok. People have started to do it on TikTok, but we need your help. We have just reached a little bit over 1,000 so far. So we've got a lot of great responses. We need your help. And yeah, so please submit. And it's fun. And the biggest thing the takeaway is you do not need to be a singer. This is not like, you know, it is anyone can do it. Mom, dad, sister, you can get the dog involved. People, you know, they clap and sing, or they talk and sing. So it's a lot of fun. And we're hoping that, and if they're watching, we're hoping to get your boyfriend in your head, Hugh Jackman, involved. We're hoping to get Sutton to do a video, and just raise awareness and let people know that, you know, we need to bring Broadway back and keep the lights on and raise awareness, and, you know, help the Actors Fund, which has helped many, many people. But everything is there in that link, playbill.com/BWay World Record. It's really cool. So, oh, hello? Lauren? Lauren, I think you froze. Okay. Well, this is live performance. This is what happens at live streams. I guess she's coming back on.
Are you there?
There we go.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
I love technology.
Me too. You know, it's okay. I figured that's what happened. I was like, oh, as I said, live. It's like live performance, live technology.
Yes, it's live. You never know what's going to happen, but and we're not even having a storm here. You know, sometimes when it's raining or windy, it happens, but tonight's a nice clear night. So anyway, thanks for hanging in there with me. I know you commiserate because you're on StreamYard too. So
well, I get it. See, not that I understood. I was like, wait, she'll be back. I know the broadcast didn't end, so I'm going to just wait here patiently.
So people have till February 28th to submit their videos. The hashtag is Broadway World Record, right?
Yes, BWay World Record.
BWay World Record, and people can go to Playbill or Ryco and get more info. Hopefully, we'll have lots of Raleigh Durham people. We have a lot of talented people here, so definitely get your videos in so we can see some familiar faces and take part, because it's a great cause.
It really is. It really is.
So, Rye, as you've done these interviews during the pandemic, what has there been a kind of through line or takeaway for you on creativity? What has COVID taught you and other artists that you've talked to about creativity in the arts?
Yeah, you know, I think it's just that anything's possible. Yeah, that anything's possible, and you got to get creative and just do it. Jump right in. You know, as I said, I started this on my own, and I'm learning day in and day out, and that's the biggest thing. Is it's taught me to be creative and sort of use your resources and research and all of that. But yeah, it's just, as I said, to get creative, because you have to in this world that we're in right now.
Yes, my thing that I kept saying on a lot of these broadcasts last year was creativity can't be quarantined, and I believe that. You see it all over the place with the live streams and the amazing work that's being done now. So, but this was so much fun. I'm so glad I got to hang out with you. I feel like I've known you my whole life, so this is great.
Oh, me too. Me too. Was so thrilled and so glad when you asked me to do this, and I was just so honored and so touched. I love being on the opposite end of it. You know, it was exciting and thrilling. So thank you for asking me. It was, I'm thrilled. So.
Well, thank you. Everyone go log on to RyeTheNewsGuy. You had your social media handle. I don't know what happened to our names. They seem to have disappeared from our screens.
Yeah, so you can go to RyeTheNewsGuy.com, RYE, thenewsguy.com. And you can follow me on social media at Rye_Myers, RYE_Myers on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook. I'm at RyeTheNewsGuy. That I couldn't change that one, but and then on YouTube, I can talk on YouTube. You can just type in Rye the News Guy or Live with Rye, and you'll see all of my videos. But I love hearing from you, and please follow me and continue the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This was such a joy, and I hope to meet you in New York in person at some point in the not so distant future.
Oh, Lauren, I do too. I cannot wait for it. I cannot wait to see you in person and give you a big hug. For sure.
A virtual hug. Yes. Thank you. All right. So tomorrow night, we were supposed to have a podcast workshop with Brett Shuford. That's not going to happen because it's snowing in Texas. And Brett doesn't have internet, and so that's not going to happen. We are going to delay that by a week, and I'll let you know when that's going to happen. Thursday, Juan Isler will be back with another installment of Theater on Racist Negativity. You know, those conversations are always timely and interesting and thought-provoking. So come back and join us for that on Thursday at 7:30. And Friday, we're going on a field trip Friday because I'm missing theaters. So I go on these virtual field trips, Rye.
Love it.
And we're going to go to Pineapple Shaped Lamps Comedy Company and hear what they have been working on. So it's a full week here, and I hope you'll all come back and join me. Rye, please, anytime, come back and hang out with me. This was a joy.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. And you, same with you. You're welcome on my show anytime. I got to have you on Live with Rye now. I was on Live with Lauren. They have you on with Live with Rye.
I would love it. I would love it anytime. And just stay safe and healthy. And I will see you all soon.
Thank you. Same to you, Lauren.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.